Early exchange, shaping policy, advancing development.
All right, good morning, and glad to have you join us on that program that sets the pace for your day. You know, that program that gives you a sense of direction when it comes to issues related to business, finance, and the economy. Always my pleasure to be your host. I am Femi Ayodele. We started with news update where we're given the latest update by Femi, and we must thank the news team for setting the pace this morning. What a way to start the show this morning. Don't forget, it's your show. And today we'll be looking at, Davos in the desert. We'll call it a special summit, the Future Investment Initiative, which is the initiative of the Crown Prince and an avenue for global leaders, world leaders to come together to see the investment opportunity in Saudi Arabia. That will be the thrust of our conversation today. And shortly after, we'll look at the move by the federal government to de-dollarize the Nigeria economy as some other nations, the BRICS nations, the wave is in the air and that revolution is here. And so the need to de-dollarize the Nigerian economy is coming to the table. And the Minister of Finance is giving the indication that the federal government is looking in this direction. Don't forget you can be part of this conversation. All you just have to do is to join us on all our social media for your voice to be heard. I'm not alone on today's show. Lesson is here to also help you start your day and give you a productive production for today. How are you today?
I'm great, Femi. Good morning.
Good morning. You seem not to be affected by the price of bag of rice worth about 100,000 naira.
105,000 ranges from between 105,000 to 130,000. Well, I just know that at the end of the day, we'll still get to buy a bag of rice.
It bothers me when you have a staple item, which is also one of the most common when it comes to Nigerian diet, that's 50 kg of bag of rice, that's over 100,000 naira. That's far above the minimum wage.
Yes,
and
it
drowns
the minimum wage because it means if you want to buy a bag of rice, let's assume that's what you earn, 70,000 naira, and you do not pay rent or you don't pay fees for kids or other things. So it means you need to earn 2 months' salary and take out 105,000 naira from that to buy a bag of rice. Or if you, as someone who has a high taste, you want to go for premium, then you buy for 130,000 naira. I'm just wondering what happened to the local production of rice, during the administration of President Buhari, when there was much talk and even government channeled much effort towards encouraging rice production. So what has really happened to that? We know that the cost of power right now is on the high side, but is that all there is to it? I think it's high time some discussion is had with rice farmers, and government need to do more because, like you have said, it's a staple. The demand for rice in Nigeria is very high. In every home you go to, rice is a choice food. So it's really something that a lot needs to be done about. Well, away from rice issue, because if you belong to the Christian religion, when say man shall not live by bread alone. So let me copy from that and say man shall not live by rice alone. So we'll leave rice alone and move on to other issues. Now, one of them is the de-dollarization move, which is not something that only the BRICS bloc is about. The Nigerian government is also looking to de-dollarize the Nigerian economy as the Naira has taken a great fall against the dollar. We'll bring you that conversation as we join with a guest who is Ambassador Williams Wallace. Good morning.
Good morning to you. How are you?
I am fine, Ambassador. I'm happy that you don't have to bother about the price of a bag of rice right now.
Why not? I will prefer not to spend that kind of money. So why don't we go towards organic food? Let's have organic food, bananas, yam, plantain, potatoes. We need to wean ourselves away from the bags of rice. As a matter of fact, I'm not a big rice eater. I prefer to have the nice solid food that keeps you going for the day. a good plantain with some fish or meat or anything else could keep you going more than rice would. You know, as you eat rice, within an hour you're hungry again. But if you have something heavy, like
I'm
pounded
sure that
yam,
many people want to go
that
your route at this point in time because it's become
exactly they should.
very expensive. Well, let's get to the de-dollarization move of the federal government. Ambassador Williams Wallace is the chairman, African International Chamber of Commerce and Industry. So looking at the de-dollarization move of the federal government, you would have noticed that the Nigerian economy has become much dollarized. Now, people want to, even within the country, people want to price their services and goods, maybe for some uniformity if they have international customers. They tell you this costs XY dollar for you to purchase or for you to get that service. And you're wondering, I am in Nigeria, why are you charging me in dollars?
Absolutely. Well, remember I predicted, I think it's maybe about 3 interviews ago, that Nigeria will be looking as one of the currencies, looking at one of the currencies to de-dollarize as well. And I said it was important for them to hedge against what was happening. The standard that has been established, world reserve, is the US dollar. Thank God now it has arrived that we have an alternative. But because it's the reserve currency, everybody is measuring their local currency against the reserve currency, which is the US dollar. And when they do that, to buffet against the fall of the Naira, that is all that they can hold on to. However, there is now a choice. And countries which have been hit by the strength of the dollar against their local currencies will now be able to have an alternative to ensure that they can maintain some balance with their own currency. So it's a good thing now for BRICS to have happened and Nigeria to seriously look at joining the BRICS de-dollarization, because otherwise we will be strangled by the dollar versus the Naira. You see the rate at which it's going. After President Buhari came in, it was what, at 460, 470? We're now talking, quadruple the amount and falling rapidly. So we need an alternative. And I think people now have to look at trading with other currencies like the BRICS currency to ensure that they can maintain some balance against the volatility of the dollar versus their local currency. As I said before, it's always that the dollar is used as a weapon. That's the strength of the US dollar. It forces you to trade against their currency. And when you do that, you are going to get hit, with your local currency, always. And therefore, people will be asking for the dollar, and the pressure will be on them, because every day, as the rate changes, you see that you're struggling to keep a rate and the race between your devaluing currency and the only, at the moment, before BRICS came on, the dollar.
All right, good to see you again, Ambassador. In our previous conversation, you predicted the evolution taking place now with the expansion of the BRICS, and now the revolution is here in Nigeria. We never expected it's going to come so soon, but you predicted you are far becoming a seer now, and that's why we've sought after you for this kind of conversation. Now that the Minister of Finance has given a direction that the federal government is making move to de-dollarize the Nigerian economy, what do you think should be the starting point for the Nigerian government, knowing fully well that our reserves, like you said, and which is the truth, is in dollars? What will be the implication for the Nigeria economy? And if the move is going to become a reality, what do you think should be the starting point for the Nigerian government?
Well, the starting point is the mainstay of the Nigerian government. What is the mainstay of the Nigerian government? It's oil, it's gas, right? Those are the mainstay. And that is where you'll get strangled. The current petrodollar of Saudi, Qatar, and all the Middle Eastern countries have decided to join BRICS because they know that the US dollar, the petrodollar, which it became known as, has been hitting them very hard. Therefore, the Nigerian government must first join those nations who are oil producers to go on to an alternative currency so that they are not subjected to the weaponization, of their economy with the dollar. It's used absolutely, as I said it before, it's used as a weapon to keep you in line and to keep you utilizing the US dollar. If you keep to that, your economy must be affected because the mainstay of your revenue is oil and gas, which is very high. It's almost 70% of the income of the country. Once you are tied to the dollar for the sale and expenditure of your oil, then you are going to be hit very hard. Now, the other countries who are saying we are going to join BRICS to ensure that we maintain our economies and keep the strength of our economies going and the strength of our local currency, we have to de-dollarize. So they are fast moving to the understanding, and I'm sure Wale Edu has looked at it and realized that, look, hey, our economy is based on oil and gas, and the dollar is a weapon, the petrodollar. We have to move away from it. So it's a sensible thing to do. As I said before, Nigeria may sit on the fence. I didn't realize they will join so fast and want to join so fast, but it's the right move because if the major aspect of their revenue is on oil and it's dollarized and they move away from that, they have the opportunity to trade with their own currency, with the BRICS on a much more on par parallel than what is happening with the dollar. So it's a very wise move. They will have a basket of currencies, which is what I have advised. They should have a basket of currencies, include the dollar in that basket of currencies, but not make it the mainstay of their trade, which is oil. Because if they do, they will find themselves economically really, really badly down, and the country will suffer like we are at the moment.
As a matter of policy, what should happen to support this move to de-dollarize the Nigerian economy? For the minister, coordinating minister of the economy, Wale Edu, he did say that business people are being encouraged to invoice in Naira rather than in dollars. But as a social issue, there is also a new trend where at parties, people would rather spray the dollar than Naira in a way to try to evade penalties for spraying money at events. What should happen to also curtail that? Does it matter?
Well, what they are doing, in a sense, is also de-dollarizing because they're saying that this is now a currency that we can give away. These are people, are very few, very, very few. They are among the elite, and they have that money or extra money to spend. I don't know how much they do spray, but I wouldn't think it'll be more than $1,000 at any event. It is another man's currency that they are spraying, so therefore you can't penalize them. But I'm sure they will limit themselves like good Nigerians would do. They're not going to overspend the little that they have in the dollars unless those dollars were ill-gotten and they can use it anyhow. But if that's the trend, you have to say that they are just avoiding penalties. And if they were going to give 50,000 or a million Naira out at an event, it's better to just give 1,000 dollars, and yeah, you are away from the penalty. But that trend does not have any effect on the economy. It's just them with their little change that they've got in dollars and the strength of the dollar, giving that away at events. But it's very few and far between. How many people in the country would be able to do that? It's just a few. It has no effect on the overall economy. It's a trend, but it's a trend, what I'll call fashionista trend. Oh, I've got dollars, and my dollar is stronger than the Naira. Fine, but how much of that? Will they give away $100,000? I doubt.
All right. There are those who are concerned about this move to de-dollarize the Nigeria economy. And the question from this set of people is, what alternatives do Nigeria, it's available for Nigeria, knowing fully well that the most ideal way to de-dollarize the economy could have been to encourage local production. So what are some of the concerns that could come up with the move to de-dollarize the Nigeria economy as regards complementing it with the encouragement for local production? How much of impact will that make on the move to de-dollarize the Nigeria economy?
Very good question, Femi, and a very good idea. Buying local means you're trading among yourselves. As I said before, and I made that point before, let's have a drive to buy local because you're using your local currency. And like the Jews, you let the money circulate many times around in your exchange and barter for goods and services, and that will strengthen your local currency. Then you also have the opportunity, like China and others, where you have unilateral relationships, and you can use they allow you to use your Naira to buy their goods and services, and you pay also in their currency. That sort of unilateral trade, which is the type of trade that BRICS is going to allow hard-hit nations the ability to use their local currencies to trade with the BRICS currency, is the way to go to strengthen the economy of the Nigerian space, and they strengthen the Naira as a currency as well. So buying local should be the mantra of the minister, the coordinating minister of the economy. To drive that process means that the government has to enlighten, they have to encourage, they have to also provide the environment for a local production. There's no reason why we should not be producing our own rice, as we said we did in the last administration, and start paying for it in local currency, so that you lessen import, because with import at the moment, you have to look for the only means of exchange, which is the dollar, which is absolutely hard to come by. And you're paying a penalty for it every day that your Naira devalues. So it has to be a drive to buy local and encourage people to buy local so that they spend the local currency among ourselves, trade and barter for services among ourselves. That strengthens the economy because you are not forced to look for and buy a currency outside, which is penalizing your own economy and your own currency. So it's a good idea that we go after buying local, strengthen the local economy, strengthen the local currency, establish unilateral exchanges with countries that want to trade with Nigeria and will allow you to pay in your currency and use theirs. That also establishes and strengthens your economy and strengthens your currency. I mean, I already mentioned before that China allows you to pay in Naira for your goods and services in China. The Igbo traders and other traders go to Guangzhou, they pay in Naira. And, that is a very good thing for the economy and for our business people and business services here. I expect that if we join BRICS, you could also pay for your goods and services in Indian rupees, paying Naira, and they also paying in rupees. So that sort of what I will call round robbing with the BRICS nations and their currencies allows you the freedom to pay in your currency and avoid, the penalties of a one weaponized dollar regime, which affects your economy and affects your currency. We have to move away from the dollar as the main. I'm not saying that you don't utilize it still, you have it in your basket of currencies, but as the main reference point, because it has the ability, because it's the only currency, it's demand and supply, because it's the only currency that is now being used as a reserve currency and also as a petrodollar. You are forced to find it, to use it, to buy it, because it's still a supply economics. You have to buy the dollar. And every time that you have to buy the dollar, you've got to find the quantity of Naira against which you buy the dollar, which is a devalue and a devaluing currency. And as I said before, all the African countries have that penalized, weaponized currency against them, the dollar. Simple.
Now, since this is a common problem in Africa, we've often talked about having a common currency in Africa, but that seems to be a long way for the achievement of that.
Not so long away.
In the interim,
on my way.
Africa itself doesn't trade much. Africa as a continent doesn't trade much with itself. But for the little trade that happened, what kind of consensus needs to happen for what Nigeria is able to do with China to be replicated within Africa? So if Nigeria is trading with Ghana, whichever country is making the payments, the currency of that country is accepted.
To Zambia. I have just been invited by the AU to come and talk about a standardized currency for Africa. I am leaving this morning right after I finish speak with you. I'm heading to Zambia. I will share with you the forum. And that forum is to look at the intra-Africa trade, the standardization of a currency for intra-Africa trade, and also for the trust and the economic drive of the ACFTA and the use of a common currency for it. So I'm heading there right now. I'll be able to report back to you, or from there, the mindset and the thinking, because they have realized that the African Union has realized for the ACFTA to take off, which I said before, we need to have a standard currency. And that is absolutely now being talked about this week in Zambia, Lusaka. I'm on my way there.
Standardization. Let me paint a scenario for you. So this happens with some businesses in Nigeria. I made earlier I said that you find a situation where, because some have both international and local customers, so they want to have this standard price for goods and services, and it's pegged at a certain dollar. And it becomes a bit expensive for even the local customers to afford, because you're basing it on the dollar. And if they have to pay in Naira, then they must give the equivalent of the Naira to what is being charged in dollars. How do you find a situation like this? If the government is encouraging invoicing in Naira, what other step can businesses take? They may say they find it hard to give different prices. This is in Naira, this is in dollar. But is there a way to achieve standard when a business has local and foreign customers that they do not have to dollarize payments?
Well, it depends on the relationship that's been established with the foreign customers. Where are they? Are they in China? Are they in India? Are they in Brazil? Are they in Europe? Some sort of parity has to be established. Once you've been able to establish a parity of your currency, because it has become a strong currency, then you will be able to less the pressure on your own currency for trade. Currencies fluctuate all the time. You always have fluctuation of currency, but it is how strong is your currency and your trade economics. That has to be worked out. In other words, if we go, as Femi and I just discussed, towards strengthening the local economy by trading, intra-trading within the country, and the Naira stabilizes, then you can invoice very well, knowing that, you have a parity that is, movement between, that standard of your currency is no more than, 3 to 5%, then you know that you can hedge towards your international customers. But if it's falling rapidly, as it is now, and you don't have an established relationship with those countries and their currency, then you're in problems. Then you're going to have trouble.
Right, before we allow you leave for Zambia, maybe this could be an opportunity to have, a bite of some of your lectures or keynotes or you're expected to talk about in that conference. Let's talk about Africa when it comes to the issue of the local currencies in Africa. You're aware that when it comes to performance, the local currencies in Africa, they are struggling. Now, from your observation and given the fact that you prepared a lecture for this conference, what are the common challenges or problems you found out as regards the demand for local currency and the performance of that currency, which is peculiar to African nations?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, we do not have a common currency, and that is going to be my keynote. We need to go towards a common currency. We need to establish a continental central bank. And we need to also embrace technology and go digital. Those are some of the key areas that I will be speaking about. It's important now that we have the digital quantum leap, and it has been proven in Kenya and other parts of Africa that we can have a digital currency and work effectively. That has to be implemented, and we have to standardize it, and we have to work with our own settlement system, past one of them, right? And also we have to have a continental central bank that now accepts that the currencies must be collapsed into one standard currency for Africa and use technology, digital blockchain to do transactions which are traceable, which are monetized, and which are accepted as the standard medium of exchange. So those are some of the key parameters I will be talking about and around, and I have solutions, as you know, and those will be exposed at the forum. It's 3 days, 4 days of talk with the African Union and members of the African Union and, invited financial institutions on the continent and countries. And so I think we should have a good outcome because they have realized now, and the key thing, the keynote in these talks, the trading and the takeover of the African free trade area. And I had always said it before, it cannot happen unless and until we have a standard means of exchange, collapse the rest of the weak currencies that we have in Africa, which is among the 55 countries, we have almost 40. It's not feasible. It can't happen. You must take that quantum leap like we did from analog telephones to digital, So that is going to be the future for Africa. And thank God we have now BRICS, which has given us an alternative means of relating our currencies individually versus, the individual BRICS countries' currencies, and also the means of exchange and settlement. They are bringing that about, which I had predicted. And of course, they're going to be using technology as one of the means of making sure that everybody is on a parity and a parallel, same platform, using their own platform. And that is going to help places like Cuba, Haiti, others who are joining and are being pulverized by the effect of the dollar.
Other BRICS, the 2024 BRICS Kazan Summit in Russia saw discussions around the potential use of cryptocurrencies to facilitate the de-dollarization move. What are the pros and cons of this option?
Well, the cryptocurrency has been established. For me, it is still a very volatile means of exchange. As well, it's not backed by any reserves, right? We, at the moment, Africa has the strength to have, their own crypto backed by reserves, their own currencies backed by reserve, a standard currency backed by reserve. So, for example, the Binances of this world and the other cryptocurrencies, right? They still have to be, in the main, proven that they can be backed by foreign and local reserves. That tells you that this digital currency or crypto has some strength. Now, the Russians could probably say that, and the BRICS nations can say, that's why they bought up a lot of gold, that they have enough reserves of, gold and other resources that can back their crypto. And I believe that is where they are going. So I would say that that is also another, what I would say, another mix in the basket of trading, that we can do crypto, we can do it on blockchain, and our crypto is backed by the reserves of gold that we have and other raw material resources. When you combine the other BRICS nations, they can say the same. So you can find that their crypto, as unlike the other cryptos of Bitcoin, etc., is backed by and could be shown that is backed by a feasible, tangible set of material reserves, gold, diamond, oil, whatever. At the moment, the cryptos that are in that space is not backed by anything. It's just like the dollar is picked out of the air, and you just use again, you just use a non-backed means of currency and exchange and trade. So the difference for me is that Russia is surely saying that, look, our BRICS crypto is backed and can be backed by trillion BRICS exchange reserve based on our raw material resources combined.
All right. If the move to adopt crypto in the move to de-dollarize, the economy becomes the order of the day, how do you think the problem of regulation, which is largely peculiar to digital currencies, could be avoided now in a situation where you have more nations, adopting it, if that becomes a reality? The issue of regulation, which is very peculiar to digital currencies and sharp practices, what kind of framework can be put in place to ensure that this is managed or controlled?
Well, they have to. The BRICS nations will have to have a central regulating authority on their cryptocurrency that gives confidence, because money and currency is always confidence, and safeguards the intra-trade using their cryptocurrency. And I am sure they have thought of that, and it will be regulated. So everybody who has joined the BRICS cryptocurrency will know that their transactions are safe, will know that the cryptocurrency they're using is managed and legally accepted. And you have also fallback. So if something goes wrong, you know that you have what I will call an ombudsman in the regulation of that means of trade and exchange. You must have, and they will have thought of that. And you have to have recourse. But blockchain, what I can tell you, you can track your transactions, properly. You can see, it's like a digital signature and imprint. Every transaction can be tracked and can be realized that this is what I used to pay for this. And here is the audit trail, the digital audit trail of that transaction. And that is one of the good things of going that route as well, in that it's traceable, it's trackable, and you know the outcome, in that you have seen where that crypto fingerprint went, where it left, what time, etc. That is very important. We don't have that now with local currency. You trade and you buy, and it's just a free-for-all. But with a crypto currency used for trade and services, it's trackable. It's traceable. So you know when, what time, and who did what with who. That's the important thing. And I'm sure they're going to have regulations to ensure the safety of the transaction. More
Okay,
importantly.
so the question would be, why consider crypto after the much talked about BRICS payment system? Does it suggest that there are potential challenges or anticipated challenges for the BRICS payment system?
All right, let's look at it militarily. You have to have options. If BRICS could be attacked from a hacking cyber point of view, because a lot of their systems will be reliable on technology, I would suggest that the BRICS are thinking of a backup. They're looking at all the options, to ensure that they back up their own currency, who might be attacked or who might have teething problems. But look, we have an alternative, and that alternative is also acceptable. So I think it's a means of safeguarding the novelty, the newness of BRICS. And since crypto is now becoming an acceptable form of trade, transaction, and savings, right, for individuals and for moneyed people, they have said, okay, let's also put into our basket of currencies, right, of our own currencies, crypto as well, because crypto is now an accepted currency and means of exchange. So it is wise to now put crypto in. They've put their yuan in, they've put their ruble in, they've put their rupee in, and they're also now embracing other people's currency. It is also a backup. It is also a backup. So I think militarily, they know that they're going to get attacked. And if they are only relying on just their settlement system and just their means of exchange on their BRICS standard currency, they're going to be hit. America is not going to sit down and allow them to run riot around the world. They are going to attack them, I'm quite sure. So putting in crypto as well, which safeguard them from the hit they may encounter, is a wise move to have a basket of hedged currencies, including the crypto.
The BRICS revolution is challenging the world order, quick as expected. But what do you think could be the political, angle to these and the diplomatic route that could arise as a result of this move? Will it further lead to a kind of divide between the global south and the global north? Here you have Russia widening its influence, to the global south to ensure that more African nations are adopting this payment. And here you have a Western system of payment that has been in existence. Do you foresee any political or diplomatic route in this regard? And what can be done to douse this kind of formidable tension?
Femi, it's a war. It's a trade war. It's a diplomatic war. It's a political war. They are all three involved. And it's about winning the minds, hearts, and soul of the nations of Africa and other poorer nations who have been crying out for an alternative. So there is going to be, right, a divide. The divide has happened anyway. I mean, 70% of the world's economy is with the BRICS nations. And if they start trading internally, it's a war. It's a trade war. Politically, they are going to also fight. Whoever becomes the president next month in the United States, that would probably be the number one thing on their front burner, right? Then diplomatically, everybody is going to make moves to convince and try to sway the countries that are going to join BRICS, especially Africa, whose reserves in raw material resources they want. So the war is on. The war was on. This is just a real game changer and paradigm shift for poorer nations, Africa, Cuba, Haiti, India, other places where they need to have an alternative means of exchange and to breathe economically. And so this is now the three-pronged war that you just spoke about, because it's a war, diplomatically, politically, and economically. You know, it's a trade war. There's economics involved. There's losses involved. I mean, what's going to happen? A lot of American businesses are not going to be able to use what they were using, the strength of their dollar, to enrich themselves. They're going to have to rely maybe on Mexico. They're going to have to rely on their other near markets to ensure that they can, and they'll be forced to employ more trade among themselves. You know, the country itself will trade among itself. They will trade with their near markets of Latin America and Mexico. You know, so it's a trade war that the balance has tipped, and I think that's what they're seeing. The balance has tipped because of the strength, the combined strength of the BRICS nations, and more are joining, including Nigeria. Now, Nigeria is very key, very, very key, because of the strength of the country's oil reserves, the strength of the population as a market. So the war has started, and for Nigeria to jump straight away to say they want to de-dollarize, that's to tell you there's danger signs ahead. And Nigeria has to look out as well, very much so. And they must be careful, you know, how they tread this path, you know. So Nigeria, look out as well. Let's make sure we make wise choices.
Talking about making wise choices, there have been advocacy for Nigeria to become part of the BRICS nations, but recently Nigeria, alongside 12 other countries, was added as partner countries to the BRICS nation. Though not a member yet, but do you see it as a step towards achieving that? Would it be a wise decision for Nigeria?
Yeah, of course it has to be. As I said in my lectures before, I think it was 2 or 3 lectures back on our interviews, Nigeria has to include BRICS in their basket of currencies. It is a shift in the world economics, and Nigeria has a very important role to play. I said they don't have to completely leave out the dollar in their basket of currencies, but they must concentrate on inclusiveness with BRICS. I said it, and I was surprised that they made such a move so fast. But they have to. If we have to protect our economy, if we have to protect our currency, the Naira, and if we have to protect our trade among the rest of the world. You can't just leave out Nigeria and all the BRICS countries when we do a lot of trade and import, and we also sell oil. You have to now embrace the paradigm shift, and it's a good thing, a very good thing for us to do so. Partner and join as quickly as possible, and hedge our bets, you know, against, you know, the weaponization that the dollar has on the country and the economy, more importantly.
All right. Now that Nigeria has been recognized as a partner, a country partner in the BRICS formation, how do you think the Nigerian government can handle the transition in a way that it will not trail some challenges and it won't also trigger some political conflicts, in the sense that you have a move to de-dollarize the Nigerian economy, and now BRICS is also making some offers? How do you expect the Nigerian government to handle this kind of marriage, if I may use that word, in a way that it would not further give room for conflicts?
Any way they do it, there's going to be conflicts. It now becomes a diplomatic matter, you know, and because thank God Nigeria is a very strong, well-populated country and is recognized as such, so that we're like a bride as well, one of the brides, right? So now, diplomatically, we will be pressured by, you know, European countries, the US, and others who have influence, whether it was past colonial, whether it was present partnerships, and, you know, other, you know, barter between themselves trade-wise. So I think it will reach to a diplomatic engagement. They can't come out politically and challenge, but of course, you never know. Some people can help people in the political space to rally against the government. We have to be careful of that, because is any, all bets are off. Any way they can influence the government to not accept BRICS as a major currency for their international trade, they will do it. It's their role to do that, diplomatically and politically. So the undermining of the country could have started, will start, in some way to destabilize. So the destabilization of the country is something that has to be looked at very, very closely, because this is now trade war. And this is now, people losing the strength and the power they had through their currency, which is the dollar. So therefore, if I have to look at it from a strategic military point of view, they will be attacked on all fronts. And destabilization of the country is obviously going to be one of them, to ensure that you stand in line and stand behind, our currency rather than accept the alternative. But I think in the first instance, they will go quietly, diplomatically. But it will be all out. Anything, any move, that they have to make to ensure that Nigeria, remains loyal and stand in line with the dollar, they will try. They will. So I see challenges ahead for Nigeria. So they've got to walk very quietly, softly, and obtain a middle ground, and do like the UK did when the euro was being established. They sat on the fence and said, we're not going to join. We're going to keep our currency, the pound sterling. And they did, and it was a wise move then. So they've got to tread the same path and say, okay, we are sitting on the wall, on the fence, and we will look and see how the BRICS evolve, but we are part of it. And that also gives Nigeria a bit of strength, because it means that they also have partners to support them should things go south in terms of political attacks, in terms of, diplomatic onslaughts. They now have partners, and I think there's strength in numbers. And that's the beautiful thing. The dollar is one country, one country's currency, but the BRICS is several. So you have several partners. And I dare say that Nigeria should look at that as part of their alternative support system. Because if you rely on the dollar, you're going to be on the lifeline taking drips on your deathbed. So join and get the support that BRICS will provide with you. That's my advice.
All right, so what's the idea behind the concept of partner country? 12 other countries were made partners alongside Nigeria. You have Algeria, Bolivia, Cuba, Indonesia, Kazakhstan, Malaysia, Thailand, Turkey, Uganda, Uzbekistan, Vietnam. Why not just make them members? What's the idea behind this partner status?
Course, if you're looking at the process, they obviously have a process. They already also have a means of how would you join and how would you be able to enjoy the relationship. So it's like recruiting, do you have the wherewithal to maintain the relationship when you join? Are we convinced that you will stay? Because also you don't want sabotage. You don't want people joining and then suddenly they rock the boat, because that's another part of the diplomatic war. They can join and be instructed, look, pull out after a year. And, you have 2, 3, 4 members pulling out, right? And suddenly the idea of BRICS is weakened. And people start to get shaken, because don't forget, currency and money is all about confidence and trust. So if there is mistrust, people will be saying, oh, Malaysia left because they didn't like the way the trade was going and the regulation was going. Indonesia left because of this and that. Uganda left because of this, etc. So they have to screen the members who are coming in and make sure that they are in for the long ride and will be there to support the combined currency and the combined nations standards that they would have established. For example, do they have the infrastructure? I mean, digital infrastructure. Those are all key things. So they will be asking, we would like you to standardize your platforms. We'd like you to standardize your digital infrastructure to meet up with what we have. So there's a number of factors that are being considered for partner countries, because don't forget, these other countries are not as advanced, should we say, to use a word, are not as advanced as those BRICS nations who have very sophisticated.
That's maybe all we can take with Ambassador Wallace, as the internet connection there has been disrupted. Well, thank you so much, Ambassador Williams Wallace, the chairman of African International Chamber of Commerce and Industry, as we looked at the de-dollarization move of the federal government of Nigeria as the Naira has taken a great fall against the dollar. Well, that move is also what the BRICS bloc is about. And let's see how it happens for the BRICS, with the BRICS payment system and the option of using cryptocurrency to facilitate the de-dollarization agenda. Let's take a break and return to look at the Future Investment Initiative, the one they call Davos in the Desert.
Early exchange, shaping policy, advancing development.